Hey everybody. We've been doing bigger projects lately, and a couple of people asked if we could do something simple for a little break, so that's what we got here. We have, I think, probably the most simple, best bang for your buck piece that we've done on the channel. So I've got this pattern that I made up. It's actually going to be a 2-card wallet with a thumb slider. You can not do this if you want to make it even more simple, and it's only 1 stitch line. We've got, this is Weaver's Canyon Rose leather. It's about 3.5, 4 ounces. This stuff is gorgeous. If you haven't tried it yet, highly recommend it. So let's get this pattern traced out and we'll make it and we'll show you what it looks like. So before I cut this out, I'm gonna do one thing. This is a 1/8 inch punch circular. And on this part, where this is a right angle, you've seen me do this before. Anytime I have a right angle sort of inwards cut, I like to punch a hole right at this intersection. The reason being, you can kind of see it on the pattern. If you cut too far, you're going to have a little tear there. And over time, that could sort of weaken as it moves and rip. We don't want that to happen. If I take a punch and punch that joint, then it's basically going to, instead of our cut line going like that, it'll go like this and then have a little microscopic turnaround, so there won't be any tears over time. So that's why I'm doing this. If you don't have a punch, it's totally fine. It's probably going to be totally fine. It's just a little added protection if you have a punch around, so you know your work will last for a very long time. I was going to try to push this through, but I got to hammer it. So now all we have to do is cut out the pattern. So when it comes to cutting out our thumb slot, which is this part right here, again, you don't have to do it if you want to keep it really simple. I like it because it's a little added functionality. This is my personal wallet. You can see I have the thumb slot on mine. What you can do, I usually cut them out by hand, but it's a really detailed thing. So if you don't have the knife control down yet, totally fine. You can also use a 3/4 inch punch. What I would suggest, this is our old 3/4 inch punch, and you can see how you have the 3/4, or you have the curve here, right? But then it goes down straight. And I could never, because of this, I could never punch these out. Weaver just sent us over to use their Master Tools 3/4 inch punch. This thing is so nice. It's only got the curve in it, so that allows you to sort of line up your punch here. And it's like when we do zippers, right? If you've watched our other videos, you've seen when I do zippers, I use a 1/2 inch punch and I punch 1, 2, and then I cut out the middle. You can do the same thing with bigger stuff now. I'm using a 3/4 inch on this one. So now all I have to do is just get my straight edge and connect these lines and cut them, and I have a perfectly smooth, nice thumb slider, and I don't have to do these really tight little curves by hand. Look at that. So that's super clean. And all you have to do, I'm going to go in with a little 320 grit, sand that down really gently. And then what we're going to do is we're going to burnish. There's only 1 stitching joint, and this whole thing is put together now, a little bit of glue. So if you're going to burnish, you got to burnish pretty much everything. The way this is going to go together, we're going to fold this piece over first, right? And then that creates our thumb slider pouch. Then all we're going to do is fold this piece up, and this creates a second pocket where you can put bills. I sized it in, we made a little pattern. It's like $2 on the website if you want to download it and make along. And you can use our patterns, have an open license for anything. If you want to sell them, you want to do whatever, totally cool. So you'll have the same functionality as my wallet, which is a full sewn around thing. It's got a liner, a plastic piece stiffener in it and stuff. Literally the same functionality, and it takes like 10 minutes to make. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just fold this together before I sew it, and pay attention to like which parts I need to burnish first, right? So I'm going to burnish this whole thing and these tops, and then I'll sew this together. I'll sand down this seam, blend it in with this curve, and then that's the only burnishing we'll have to do when we put it, after we sew it together. We're going to kind of glue this in 2 stages. So the first thing we need to do is glue this seam. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just come in with a pencil, make a little mark so I know just to glue this. So we're going to glue these 2 sides, stick them together first. What I'm going to do before we fold this together and get everything assembled, I'm going to scratch up this surface. Depending on the leather you're using, you may or may not need to do this. This Canyon Rose leather is hot stuff, so it's packed with oils. It's really, really beautiful, but I like to rough it up a little bit on the front side. You don't have to do it when you're on the back side, but I like to rough up the front side to make sure that I have a good bond. And then once we do that, I'm going to glue this, and I'm going to make sure that I'm only gluing to here. I don't want any glue in this fold because there's nothing sticking, so it'll just be open glue. And here's a trick to do that. I'm going to glue this part first. I'm going to go a little bit heavy on it, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this over. I'm not sticking it for good. I'm just going to fold this over, press down, and then pull up. And that shows me exactly where I need to add a little bit more glue so that when the glue's dry and it's ready to stick together, the glue lines up perfectly. And there we go, we're stuck together, and you can kind of just see what the wall looks like. It's super simple to put together, but it's got a lot of functionality. So the only thing left is to sew up that single seam. It's like 2 inches, 2.5 inches, and you're done. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand down this edge a little bit first. This pattern is really nice and easy to keep everything lined up super straight, but it's always nice to give it a little bit of leveling so that when you run your stitch line with your dividers, it's nice and straight. So all I'm going to do is I have a piece of 320 grit sandpaper. I'm just going to put it flat on my workbench, put the edge that I want to sand straight down, and just back and forth like this a few times. And if you're careful, it should be pretty much all it takes to get nice and flat. And of course we'll come through and we'll just bevel this and sand it once further before we burnish, but I'm just going to get this stitched up now. And so now all I have to do is a little bit of sanding and burnishing on this single side, and we're done. That's it. And here we go. So this is a super easy, super fun piece to make, also really functional. Takes maybe 20 or 30 minutes to make a single one. You can batch them together, make probably 10 in 3, 4, or 5 hours, depending on how quick you are. Single stitch seam. I really like this little design, and it's certainly the best bang for your buck if you're just getting started and want to kind of get a little taste of all the different skills without having to do a whole lot of them. So we can go through the functionality here. Because we only have one folded seam, this folds around and it pops this card slot out. So as you sit on it, it'll flatten for sure. But if you need to hold like 10 or 15 cards, honestly, it'll fit in there. And you have your thumb slider there, so the top one, your most used one, is super accessible. And then on the other side, this is sized to fit folded currency. US, I think Canada will fit, a bunch of other countries will fit too, right? But then it also just holds, like, if you have receipts or whatever, it's nice because it's open, but it's still a tight pocket, so things don't really fall out. And so that's about it. First link in the description is going to be all the tools and materials, including the leather. This is the Canyon Rose from Weaver, so they, of course, will have it in stock. And the second link, I'll put the pattern up for a couple bucks if you want to make them yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next one.